Mr. Buyuketsky, Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellencies, innovators, friends. It is an honor and pleasure for me to be here with you in what I think is probably the world's most mesmerizing city, Istanbul. Here East meets West, and by its location and nature, Istanbul has been a breeding ground for trade and economic development. And this is exactly why we're here today, to discuss and exchange ideas and contemplate on economic development. Moreover, on the basis of any economic development, innovation. And let me get back to this in a bit and explain why it's not completely random that you're stuck with me for the next few minutes to elaborate on the topic of innovation and growth. My name is Maurits van Oranje, thoroughbred Dutch, founder and managing partner of The Source and S2 Energy, and an entrepreneur in the field of innovation, growth, and sustainability. After having spent a little less than 15 years in large corporations, I had this notice that either everyone else was raving mad or it was me that had a little issue. And of course, as time comes, you find out that it was probably me. And why? Because I believe in growth by leading the innovation cycle and implementing disruptive ideas and businesses. Doing this enforces change, and by nature, people do not like to change. They like to stick to what they know, rather than to explore the unknown. And if you want to innovate, that's exactly where you have to go. It's, however, not my beliefs and convictions that are today's topic, but as you will see, they're pretty much interlinked. Ladies and gentlemen, having been selected twice as exclusive partner country for the Turkish Innovation Week, this is both an honor and it also raises the bar on how to leverage expertise that our host implicitly appreciates. And albeit being direct, the Dutch also are not, or have a tendency of not boosting their endeavors. So allow me to be a little un-Dutch with you for the next few minutes. What is so important about innovation? And what are some of the success factors of our innovation policy that we'd like to leverage with all of you today? And it all starts with one: content and expertise. Any innovation needs that great idea or needs that breakthrough technology. And great ideas and breakthrough technologies don't just emerge out of nothing. They come from years of solid investment in the scientific community and knowledge institutes. And yes, this strategy has paid off. Holding a number 2 position in the world of scientific quality ranking, the Netherlands has invested in knowledge in various academic fields such as agro-food, life sciences, water management, high-tech systems, materials, and energy. And presently, we are reaping the benefits from this policy as the number of startups and spin-off from universities are at an all-time high. The second prerogative is cooperation, and that was already shared earlier. Successful innovation needs that brilliant idea, and it needs a world-class team to execute, to bring it to life. From our experience, having that world-class team focused on execution in bringing that idea to life is sometimes even more important than the idea. And the team is not just about that little core on a little specific innovation. It is about the careful selection of bringing together all relevant parties that foster growth. And the Dutch open economy and the specific innovation policies have focused on bringing together all these relevant parties, such as governments, knowledge institutes, private companies. And that teamwork does not stop at the country border by itself. It goes to show by what I see is one of a very exciting cooperation between Turkish entrepreneurs of SRDC and the Dutch Knowledge Institute of TNO. SRDC, as some of you might well know, a Turkish software research and development company, wrote a Horizon 2020 project proposals and searched for an appropriate coordinator, which they found over the border in TNO. And apart from SRDC's brilliant content, this unique cooperation was selected out of 189 other proposals to obtain a significant EU subsidy. A great example of bringing together a proper team for the job, and an example that highlights successful cooperation between our nations. And this subsidy also brings me, and this proposal brings me to the third key success factor: money. In more covert terms, a high-quality ecosystem. As any farmer can tell you, you will need seeds, you will need an acre, and you will need fertilizer to help your crop grow. And in I think our world, this fertilizer is called venture capital, structured and plentifully available. In the Netherlands, we have put in place an ecosystem that is called Startup Delta. And it's a little less green than you've seen, but what it does, it aligns capital with those who need it. Not just those who are Dutch, but from all over the world. And also, the government acts as a co-investor in private tech-oriented funds that provide capital for startups. Is it all good news? No, I think in all honesty, we need to display a little modesty here, because only 10 years ago, any startup capital had to be found somewhere else, because in the Netherlands you could simply not find it. You had to go to Silicon Valley or someone else. It's only very recently that this third conditio sine qua non has been properly organized in our country. So far we touched upon the three key crucial success factors that put our country on the number 4 position as on the Global Innovation Index, and the number 5 as World Economic Forum list of most competitive country. Well, you can say for such a small country that has been battered for ages, it's a national achievement. So, you could say it makes you proud. However, it should make you wary, because getting there is one, staying there is most important and much harder to do. Having said this, and to prove my point, Turkey over the last 10 years has doubled its R&D spending as a percentage of GDP. Moreover, it has a high private sector participation too. 35 universities have well-equipped technology transfer offices, and the country is developing as a regional startup hub. Excellent. The heat is on. And perhaps, if you say there's an interesting metaphor that goes to show that great learnings can also go against you pretty often. A few years ago, we sent out some of our best players from Persie, Kuyt, Schneider to the Turkish competition. And guess what? It only took you 2 or 3 years to defeat us 3-0 in Konya, and by that, ruining our European dream. Yeah, you may applaud for yourself. This hurts. And that is why I stress that being there is not good enough. Staying there is even higher, is even more important. And since both countries now seek a little bit of both, it is of crucial importance that mutual expertise is shared in this Innovation Week. And as I mentioned earlier, the topic of innovation and how to effectively market innovation is something that we are involved in at a daily basis. But every entrepreneur also has a personal motivation on why you do what you do on a daily basis. And it defines your actions of the day. Mine is sustainability. Providing economic growth whilst preserving the future planet. Not just for you all, but also for my own children. A topic that brings together world leaders today and in the next 2 weeks in Paris. Why? The existing conviction that sustainability is a sort of a necessary evil and a cost driver is simply untrue and, moreover, pretty unintellectual. These days, in fact, if one applies the concept of disruptiveness, in fact, sustainability is very often the key driver for economic growth. And I can give you many successful external examples what I mean, but I'll give you this one. Take into consideration that the world's energy needs will continue to grow, but also must become greener. That's interesting, right? More solar, more wind power, and on the other hand, you want to decrease your carbon footprint from oil and gas-fired energy production facilities. So how do you do that? Interesting question. How do you ensure that you can create a stable baseload supply, meaning that every day everybody has energy on the same day? If the wind blows and then the sun shines, it's great, but if they don't, you have a little bit of an issue if you're dependent on them. So that is where the hot industries come into play, because the cement, the steel, and the aluminum manufacturing companies are vital for our economy, but on the other hand, they're a major supplier of CO2, and also they're a heavy energy consumer. And in their processes, they're 50% energy inefficient. They can't do anything about it, that's the way it is. We set up a company that converts this, what we call waste energy, and convert it into power, and you sell that power to the grid. So what happens? You have no need for subsidies, you reduce carbon footprint, and you produce power at a good cost. So here, everybody wins. You combine somebody's issue and you make it to use to somebody's need and let everybody share in the uplift. Also here, the three key success factors apply. The expertise, the idea, it's always needed. The team, the context of cooperation between governments, financial and private sectors, and thirdly, the financial context and the ecosystem that makes this feasible. I do thus believe, and I think that's my message to all of you, it applies everywhere, and it's my hope and conviction that the interaction between our nations in this beautiful event will lead to roads yet uncharted, but will lead to sustainable prosperity. I thank you very much.